topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, welcome to Learning to Dance in the Rain. I'm Shelby Wagner, host of the show, and the show is based on my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain. And my guest today is Jerry Wright, dance teacher and author of several books. And welcome you back, Jerry. We've had a good time talking. Last time I thought we'd try it again.
Yes, we did.
Jerry, how long have you been teaching dance?
More than 60 years.
And wow, more than 60 years.
Yeah.
And how long have you been dancing?
More than 75 years.
I'm
I'm an old guy.
Well, why did you start? What inspired you to start dancing?
Well, when I was a young guy, I just liked dance. Music inspired me, and
Look at the camera.
I danced all the time through grade school and high school, at school dances and programs and things. And I just told my parents that I wanted to learn how to dance, like with Arthur Murray Studio or something.
Oh, and so how you became an Arthur Murray teacher, I understand.
Well, eventually I did. I actually started teaching when I was a teenager.
Mhm.
It was after I'd taken classes at Arthur Murray Studio for a couple of months. I told him I wanted to be a teacher, and because it was expensive to take lessons, and if you signed up to be a teacher, they trained you, and you didn't get paid for being trained, but you didn't have to pay to have that happen.
Uh-huh.
So
Good reason.
Yeah, and that just one thing led to the other, and before I knew it, I was a dance teacher.
And so that was 61 years ago, really?
Oh, that was probably
more?
the 70 years ago, because I was a teenager.
Oh, wow.
See, I'm an old guy.
You're an old guy. I believe you told me you were 70. You've celebrated your 70th birthday how many times?
Okay. In
How did
July,
that go?
in July,
Mhm.
I will celebrate the 18th anniversary of my 71st birthday.
Okay, that was what I was trying to remember. Boy, I goofed on that one.
Well, you gotta have a little mathematics involved.
So the 18th, say that again now.
18th anniversary of my
18th.
71st birthday. That comes out to 89.
Okay, so, well, you've been dancing a long time. No wonder you're so good at
You're
it.
good at it too, Shelby.
Oh, why, thank you.
Shelby's one of my students.
And where is it that you teach and that we have to go? Let's tell them.
Well, right now, over a year ago, I went to the Commission on Aging and asked if they needed to have a ballroom dance class, and that I would be willing to make my services available if they needed something like that. And they said, oh, that would work in perfect with all their programs they have.
Mhm.
So we came to a contractual agreement,
Mhm.
and the seniors. I teach seniors how to dance. They have to be 60 or over and members of the COA. Those are the only requirements.
Only requirements, right? So that I saw in the paper that you were going to be teaching ballroom dancing at the COA in Three Rivers. It's on Broadway Street, Three Rivers, Michigan. And I had always wanted to take ballroom dancing. So I said, but I never had a partner. My husband didn't want to dance, and of course, I never thought about teaching dancing. It was just too expensive to go to Arthur Murray's back in those days. I thought.
You made a comment. It's typical that generally it's the women that like to dance.
Mhm.
Men they have to be sometimes handcuffed or tied up and drugged to the dance studio. But usually once the men find out how much fun it is and how much exercise it is, and it's such a good pastime, healthy for you and fun.
We've made several new friends since since I started taking the ballroom dance. So that I consider all of the members of the class friends of mine now. And funny, we were almost all strangers except for Carol I had known before. So, but you mentioned once in class ballroom dance. When you say that word, it might scare some people or something. What really?
Okay, well, let me help you out here.
Help me out. Yeah.
I think that a ballroom dancing sounds sophisticated
Okay.
and it sounds kind of stiff, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And ballroom dancing can be stiff. I don't know if anybody in the audience or if you have seen
the just right.
dance contest with the really top professional dancers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's through the National Association of Dance Studios and whatever. But that is the typical reaction to people. They say, "Oh, man, ballroom dancing kind of stiff," but there are so many different kind of dances, from the tango and the rumba and the samba and waltz, and then you get more in American style foxtrot. And years ago when I started, we had jitterbug, and then it went into all kinds of different name tags on fast dancing. Today it's called swing dance. And with rock and roll, it might be called rock and roll dance too. I'm not a rock and roll dance teacher because I never really took to rock and roll, because the kind of dancing that I teach, which is Arthur Murray style, you can dance those steps and those patterns because it's a step and pattern dance schedule that you're on when you're in my classes. And you learn to bounce with the music, you learn to move with the music. And with our senior group that we are now, we have movement, music, and memories. So that makes ballroom sound old-fashioned too, because the seniors, a lot of them pick up the ballroom dancing style quicker than they would rock and roll. And also with seniors, they wouldn't be able to make the moves you got to make in rock and roll. Sometimes you can't even make the moves as a senior in ballroom dancing because of the moves that you got to make.
You make a separation there between rock and roll and jitterbug, but rock and roll to me means that jitterbug or the swing that we've been learning. So I don't quite understand what you're defining or definition is of rock and roll dance. Is it more than just a swing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It involves a lot more moves, and it's all loud music.
Well, is that where they hop up and down?
That's hip hop.
That's hip hop.
But hip hop and rock and roll are really close. Hip hop is probably a little more gentle on the body, even though you got to make some moves. But rock and roll is one. There's hard rock and there's just rock and roll, and it started with rock and roll, and then they got into hard rock, and now they distinguish soft rock and hard rock. But it's all hard rock to me because I am old and I'm also old-fashioned. But I tell you what, I can dance. And even now, I can't dance. I'm not as good as I used to be, but I'm half as good as I once was.
Well, I think you're very, very good there. What's your favorite dance style?
Tango. I like to do the tango, and I don't know. My wife and I were dance partners for more than 40 years, and she's having some physical problems now, as are a lot of the students. You know, I can teach people to dance on crutches and on walkers, with walkers and with wheelchairs.
Mm-hmm.
And when you deal with seniors, and including myself, it's only a half-hour lesson, as you know. And during that half hour, after about 15 minutes, a number of seniors in the class have to sit down and rest before they continue on with what they're doing.
Yeah, I have to do that too.
Yes.
Sometimes.
But it's a fun thing for seniors because it gives them the movement, the music, and the memories, and learning to dance, and learning to dance in the rain, which is the title of your book.
Mm-hmm.
But learning to dance not just in the rain, there's a little more significance with your title of Dancing in the Rain, because that ties it in with life.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing about dancing, is it is life. You're alive with music, and you've got a partner, or you can dance ballroom dancing. It's because it's pattern dancing. You can learn the patterns, and when you learn the patterns, you have to practice like school figures. But I still practice my dance class, my dance moves, because I have to show both men and women's parts. So I have to be able to dance the woman's part to demonstrate it, and I have to do the man's part to demonstrate.
Mm-hmm.
There's one rule, in my opinion, for dancing. The man has to be the leader, and the woman has to be the follower, because there's only one leader. You can't have both people trying to lead where you're going to go next and what pattern you're going to do. So the man has to learn how to lead, and the woman has to learn how to follow. Now compare that to marriage. I'm not going to go there. But in ballroom dancing, that's one of those things you have to learn. But it makes it comfortable, and it makes it easy to do. And Shelby and Rick are a pair. They are a good dance couple. You guys are top of the heap for dancing. And it's fun to work with all the different people and all the different genres of music and all the different ages of people. I've taught from children to teenagers to middle age to old folks and senior citizens. And I even have taught handicapped students classes for a number of years. So in fact, it was teach a kid, give the kid a chance to dance. Give a kid a chance to dance. And it was all handicapped kids in the class.
Mm.
And that was one of the most inspirational classes, having those kids dance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's inspirational in all the classes for me, because my focus in my classes is on you, the student. The first question I ask people when they come to my class is, what do you want to learn in dancing? What do you want to concentrate on? What is your goal? And then I make notes of that, either mentally or on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And we go from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. So you design your lesson based on what the student wants.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I not only design the lesson, but I go through every lesson plan ahead of time. So I know what I'm going to teach them. and it's focused or based on what they want to learn. So the problem with teaching more than I am right now is a day of teaching dancing is a day's work, because you have to learn what you're going to teach to each different class, because private dance lessons are more involved in group.
Right. Right. So you were quite excited about an article in the Reader's Digest for March. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that article? Why were you excited about it? I have the copy of the March issue here.
Yeah, I think it's March, April.
March, April. Okay.
Of 2024.
Okay.
Reader's
And then
Digest.
you open it up and there's that. What does it say?
Let's dance.
Let's dance.
Let me read that subheading too.
Okay.
It's good for your body and even your brain. So.
And your soul, it says too.
And your soul.
Okay. So
that,
tell us about that.
All right. The author really, it was almost like she was picking my brain because everything in that article is a great article. And if you want to read it, even if you're not a dancer, it's a great article because it tells about life. Mind, body, and soul are all three benefits of dancing. And it's not strictly based on ballroom dancing. Ballroom dancing is pattern dancing to me. So, but there's any kind of dance, show dancing, tap dancing, ballet dancing. It's a healthy sport and pastime. And her article is almost word for word in some cases of my philosophy of dance. And I just love the article, and I encourage people to go to the newsstand and buy the March, April 2024 issue. This happens to be the large print edition. I wonder why.
I really like that. Can you see it? Because I can see it better too.
Because all that struck my attention. It's large print, it's well written, and it's about dancing.
And who's the author? We forgot to say.
Well, the last name I'm struggling with the pronunciation, but it's Claire Siboney, and it could be Siboney, but
that's the way it's spelled.
That's the way it's spelled.
Sibonney. Claire Siboney. I think that's a good guess at the title.
Yeah. So what she does in that article is it was right on target for me. And I had recommended this to my dance class, and there's so many things in there that are quotes.
I love that drawing, don't you, there?
I do.
And I just noticed that its genre is our department under health. They didn't put it under fun, entertainment.
Right.
Why would they put it under health?
Because dancing is one of the healthiest things you can do, and it is definitely a sport. And I have books. Mind Over Body is one of them. They're old books. They're old dance books, but they tell you how to dance forever is one of the books. And all of them are based on health and taking care of your body. Eat right, sleep right, get exercise, and it exercises your brain, because you do have to pay attention to learn the patterns and to learn the dances. But it's so much fun.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's a lot more fun than taking a walk or doing exercises. Although you got to do those too. But with the dancing, it's all rolled into one, and it makes you think, okay, what steps am I going to do? what's the pattern here? And it really does make you think. You have your memory. It helps your balance, I think.
I just thought of something that I think we ought to tell them about, Shelby.
Okay, go ahead.
Is after I had a heart attack, which was a couple years ago. No, it's been a little over a year. They put me into cardiac rehab. And the person I was working with showed me the different movements that I had to do and walk on a treadmill and all the things. And I got to tell you, I stopped him after the first lesson and I said, couldn't I do these exercises to music? That'd be safe, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, why? I said, well, because I'm a dancer. And these exercises are very much in line with exercises that you can take to become a dancer. Mm-hmm. So I finished out my cardiac rehab by dancing the exercises to my music. Mm-hmm. And it's so close to dancing, rehab, and exercising. Mm-hmm. So see, it's all health stuff.
Right. How very healthy, right. And the last part of her article, she's talking about her mission being a sense of community. And she says, we want you to feel joyful, to get more involved in your community, to explore the limitless possibilities for the rest of your life. Right? I think
beautiful, isn't it beautiful?
Mm-hmm, very, very good. So
you said earlier that taking the class with the COA, that you've met a lot of new people, and I know a lot of the students from the class, you guys go out dancing to different places every week. Some of them go every week. which
Guilty. Sometimes twice and 3 times a week too.
And look at how healthy Shelby is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Shelby's really healthy. I had surgery on my, you can see on my neck. I had a vertebrae that was starting to press on my spinal cord. And if I had an accident that happened to affect my neck or that, I could have been paralyzed from the neck down. And so, yeah, they took one vertebrae out, and the doctor called it a gate between the 2 that were remaining. I say to hold my head on because it kind of makes your head connected to your body, with those vertebrae.
You got a good head on your shoulder too. I don't know whether they've read your book or not, or your books. Dancing, learning to dance in the rain, and scams. 150
of
them. Yes, on there.
Yeah. I don't see. I guess my body didn't.
But we talked about those the last time I was on your podcast, and she can write.
Oh,
she can play the piano. She knows her music. She knows her dance. So a good source here.
Yeah. Well, another thing got this going. We were invited to go to karaoke, and being a music teacher and singing teacher, I didn't really want to go to karaoke all the time because, there are good people singing and there are some that you'd rather they sat and enjoy. And after I had a nodule taken out of my lung about 8 years ago, and after that, my voice kind of like what was it? Julie Andrews lost her voice in surgery on her neck or her voice or whatever. But I went from high soprano down to, I call it the basement. And so I had not sung very much, other than when I was directing choir or that. But getting into the karaoke, and I thought, well, I guess let me try it. So I got up there with another lady who was singing Crazy, and Patsy Cline, and it was very low. And I said, hey, let's sing this together. And so we did, and I got hooked on karaoke. and singing it up 2 octaves lower than what I used to sing. So it's kind of interesting, but they like it. I don't understand, but
Well, I didn't have to go through the nodule stuff
mhm,
that you did, but just aging alone plays havoc with the voice.
mhm.
And I used to sing a lot, and I have it's not my original saying, but sing as if no one can hear you, and keep on singing, even if it is karaoke. And of course, people can hear you at karaoke, but
Mhm.
there's some people at karaoke that they don't care about all that technical stuff.
Yeah,
It's the
right,
fun and the camaraderie and
right.
getting together with people.
Yeah, it is,
So
and
keep
we've
singing.
made a lot of friends there that we never would have met otherwise if I hadn't started learning how to line dance. That's what when I moved back to Michigan from Tennessee after my husband died and saw the local COA building Committee on Aging group was having line dance classes, and so I started. That's what got me back in dance because. Oh yeah, I used to like to dance. When I was in 7th grade, I went to my first school dance, and ooh, this was fun. And I could do the jitterbug, and without even thinking about it, I watched them to do it, and oh my, that became my dance. I love the jitterbug. But I appreciated dancing the waltz. Rick and I one night they played about 4 waltzes at the seniors singles dance, and he
You
said,
made
"Well,
it
let's
through
do it."
4
And we did it.
dances.
Well, not all at once. I mean,
Oh,
it was over a period of about 3 hours. But yeah, Rick said we got to tell Jerry we just danced the waltz 4 times tonight.
tell them what it does to your legs.
Oh, well, before the end of some of those songs, I had to sit down.
It's a tough dance to do, but it's a beautiful dance.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
fun.
and I haven't quite got that form yet that I see the real dancers doing, but at least we can do the steps and feel like hey, this is pretty good. we we went out to dinner about a month ago. I'll tell the story here over in Coldwater, um, and the three bandits.
Three
I have
bandits.
2 bandits or something. Anyway, it's a microbrewery, and the 2 guys that were there playing guitars and singing, and they were pretty good. So we were enjoying it. Well, you know what? There was not a dance floor, but it wasn't crowded, and we sat down, found a spot where there was some room. And we sat through and listened to them, but then they got to a rock and roll song. Do you think I can sit there when they're doing a rock and roll song? So
Did you do the swing?
we got up and we did the swing in this little place, not much bigger than where we're sitting here.
You ought to see them. You ought to see them do the
When
swing.
we sat down, they applauded. Everybody that was in there applauded us. And when we got done eating, this waitress says the cook enjoyed your dancing so much, he says sending you out a creme brulee for dessert. It reminded him of his grandparents. And Rick said to me, well, couldn't he have said his parents instead of? Well, I guess we are what we are. And then, but that wasn't the only thing. We finished that up, and I said, "Well, can we have our bill?" And she said, "Well, the man at the bar liked your dancing too, and he paid for your meal." So, wow, thanks. Just that one dance, and they liked it so much.
I don't know how many people out there in podcast land knows this, but Rick is totally blind. That's Shelby's partner.
Yep,
They're
it's
good.
very interesting.
They draw applause on the dance floor.
Even a standing ovation one night.
Sure.
It was really, really fun. But yeah. So, well, Jerry, you're not only a dancer and dance teacher, but you are other things. And one of them I know about is being an author. So tell us about that a little bit. What got you into writing books?
Oh man, because we have to go back to high school again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to write stuff for English class, different things, different class assignments. And I didn't get all A's. I was a terrible speller when I was at elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
But writing brought me around when I had to write assignments for school and all. And this was before typing. But so I started writing stuff on the side while I was in high school. And soon after, while I was in high school, either when I was still in high school, a senior, or maybe it was a couple of years after I was out of school, I don't remember. I wrote a musical called Sweet Georgia Brown. And it was a musical play.
Oh.
And the school, I directed it, wrote it, directed it, and
Wow.
produced it.
Wow.
And I was a pretty young guy. And as I look back on that, Sweet Georgia Brown, I could see a lot of things I could have done different. But I wasn't old enough, and I didn't have the experience and the knowledge of writing.
Mm-hmm.
But I still had that enjoyment and success with that. And then I went on to write freelance books. It was just so long ago, I had to write down some of the titles here. That's not the list, though. Oh, this was what I was starting to write down when we were getting ready here. But I did all kinds of scripts, and I did Great Scott, What Next, which was a stage play and a comedy.
Mm.
And this was a long time after I had graduated. But the Community Players group put that on for one of their shows one year. And I don't even have any of those scripts left, I don't think. And then I wrote a book called Choices, which was a sort of a self-help book that we make choices in our lives, what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time in my life, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to sing, I wanted to dance, I wanted to write. And so I pursued all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me into writing. After I wrote that book on choices, and I've got a good friend, his name's Vic Eichler. He's an author as well. He said, well, you ought to write more. He said, that's a good book. And I believe it or not, I was not on the bestseller list. Not even close. But you've won several awards with your writing.
Mm-hmm. Not the bestseller, though.
Well, not the bestseller, but some pretty honorable awards.
What we won. The first one I won was the second. I can't think right now. Living Now, by I can't even remember the whole group, but Living Now, and it was relationships and marriage, and I was so surprised because it's about grieving, as you can see, surviving grief, internet dating, and romance scams. So here I was winning second place, silver medal, in this Living Now contest, and I was so wow, was I ever excited about that? I mean, I used to joke and says, well, I was married for 50 years. I guess they thought I knew a little bit about being married.
And putting it on paper is the important part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to write, it's not an easy thing to write a book. And it's also not easy to remember all those things. And still, people ask you about this or that. The most successful writing I ever did spanned 20 years. And I wrote the Three Rivers Historical Scrapbook, volumes 1 through 5. And each one spanned so many years of actual happening in my hometown of Three Rivers.
Michigan.
Three Rivers, Michigan. Yes. I'm from the University of Michigan. No, I didn't go to University of Michigan. That's one of my favorite teams, and Michigan State is one of my favorite teams. So I like them all.
Mhm.
But I like all these things: music and dancing and writing, and those historical scrapbooks. Like I said, that spanned 20 years, meaning that I worked on those books for 20 years.
Can you see those in the library at
At Three Rivers.
at Three Rivers Library?
Yeah, Three Rivers Library has them. You can't take them out.
Okay,
So you able to show that?
yeah, Three Rivers Historical
Yeah,
Scrapbook, and this is 1990 to 2016.
and that's the last volume.
Yeah, it's the last volume. Boy, that's a beautiful book.
It's a very
Nice
top
cover.
notch book, and
Mhm.
it was made possible by Tom Meyer. He had set me up so that I could work on those books. He set me up with an office and computer and everything, so I had a lot of support,
Mhm.
and that was a very successful project
Mhm.
and a long lasting project, and it kept me tied in with writing, and this is all real stuff. My other writing is fiction, and fiction I just done a book called Suddenly 79. I show this book,
Mhm.
Suddenly 79, and there's a subtitle, Blocks of Life. And it's fiction. Mark Twain says, "Is there more truth in fiction or more fiction in truth?" That's
Oh yeah.
that he made that famous,
Oh.
and that's true. I say that all fiction is based on truth. I mean, it grows from truth. The fun about writing fiction is you can take those real situations and stretch it and grow it, and dramatize it, and make it a really interesting story rather than something that you think is what you like.
Mhm.
You write it for the people.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that one was done 2 or 3 years ago. It also did not make the bestseller list.
It's a very interesting story. The book, I'm really enjoying it. I haven't got it all through the whole thing, but the parts that I have read, I recognize somebody in there.
Well, I have people that have talked to me about it, and they say, "Did that really happen to you?" And I said, "Well, not really happened to me." I said, "But it's based on stories, and they may be based on what happened to a friend of mine."
Mhm.
But I made it happen to the main character in the book,
Mhm.
which is George Ronald McDonald. That's the main character in the book,
Mhm.
and he's a kid. But you didn't know this, but I'm working on the next Suddenly 79, and it's called Cobblestone Pathway. And it's a continuation of the first book.
Oh, that's good.
And
That's
the book is available at Lowry's Bookstore in Three Rivers.
Mm.
So how do we get into all this?
Well, I don't know, but when you were talking about making that play, writing that play in high school and directing and all that, well, I wrote my first play in fourth grade.
Fourth grade.
Yep. I was so impressed with television. I can't even remember the title. But I remember I was very, very shy. And we had moved up from Michigan to Michigan from Arkansas. And so I was in 4 different schools that fourth year.
Wow.
Because we had moved a lot and other things that happened. But we finally got into our house that we bought and that I grew up into there in Pontiac. And I don't know what motivated me, but one day I told the teacher, I says, "I've written a play." And she says, Oh, you read it to the class. Oh dear. I didn't know. Oh my goodness. No, I couldn't read it. I couldn't get up in front of the class and read it. But, oh, yes, you can, Joe. Yes, you can. So I got up there and I read the play all right to the kids, and they listened. But as I read it, it sounded so strange to me. I said, boy, you got a lot to learn yet, kiddo.
In fourth grade, I'm impressed.
I should have saved it, shouldn't I? Come
You
to
should
think
have.
of it.
I bet you don't have it.
No, I don't. At least I don't think so. My mother might have saved it. She saved a lot of things, but yeah, I did. A few years later, I think maybe in about seventh or eighth grade, I wanted a diary so I could journal and start writing things. And I don't know. I like to write, and I've got lots of notebooks that are filled with my writing. And I'm surprised when I pick up one and start reading. I said, oh, gee, did I say that?
Well, one thing that I really liked to do was write scripts for stage shows, not a whole show or anything, but for the MC to follow, to take the people through the music and the performances. And I ended up forming a chorus, Great American Patriot Chorus. And it spanned 8 years in existence. And it was raising money for things like memory, the military, American Legion, and things that stem from that. And I ended up writing all those scripts for that and directing the chorus. And that was a wonderful time. Couldn't sustain it after 8 years. It was, but we had as many as 80 people in the chorus.
Wow.
Jeff Kiefer was the musician. Do you know Jeff Kiefer? He's from Three Rivers. He's got his own studio, Kiefer Music.
Well, I do have a play, a screenplay that I wrote based on my learning to dance in the rain. I had some interest from producers that wanted, thought the story was good, but that there wasn't enough there. So I have written a screenplay. We're working on it.
Good for you.
The story of the scamming is so important today, and finally it's getting out there in the news. At least I'm seeing it. I don't know if everybody else is, but there are groups. One is something, Operation Shamrock. I read about on LinkedIn, and this deputy county prosecutor from Santa Clara County in California has been given the job of going around and getting this, learning as much about, in their case, it's the cybercrime. It was called pig butchering. And so they're really getting it out there because it's by organized crime syndicates have taken over, and they're kidnapping people, making them go, promising a job. This one young man was promised a good job as a financial person, and it was in Southeast Asia, and he was so excited. But when he got there, he found out he was kidnapped and had to do what they said. And what they said was making these calls, starting out with romance, scamming a lot of them, or investment, depending on whatever person they're talking to. But it always leads to investing your money in a fake company.
And what did you say?
Cyber currency crime or cyber crime.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to do an interview with the Cyber Crime magazine online at the end of this month. So I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah, good for you.
Trying to get the information out about that too. My book, of course, was in romance scams, and it was written first in 2018. So back then, I didn't have any support. I mean, Well, I went to the state police to report it, and they, well, you've been scammed, and we're sorry, you won't get your money back. There's not anything we can do, but blah blah blah. And I felt like a fool, and I still do when I think about it. But you go on, and the same that could have gone further, and later on it did, because I invested some money to get maybe to help me pay the debts I had incurred marketing my book, And so then I got involved with that, and it was another scam that I got into, and now it's called pig butchering. And when I first heard that word, I thought, oh, gee, it's nothing like making me really feel bad, But when you think about it, it's very much explains what's going on, because it starts out flattering you and fattening you, encouraging you and all of this, so you trust them. And then you put your money in, and then all of a sudden you find out. They're really good at it. They make you, you get statements and all this. It shows that your money has grown or doubled, in a short time. And then some people have lost their homes and everything that they've owned to this cyber crime. So in that case, scam is always recognized if people are asking you for money, and if you have to give money to them, then don't. Just
right.
don't.
And they're getting.
We're running out of time now. We got about 2 seconds here, so I want to thank you for. I want to thank you for coming today, and I enjoyed talking to you always I enjoy that, but I want to thank the audience for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you very much.
Hope to see you tomorrow at class if you can make it.
A doctor hasn't cleared me yet to dance, so I don't know if I can, but bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for coming. See you next week. No.